Should we start with the FA Cup draw? Carlisle at home, Darren, what do you reckon?
It's a good draw. It's the old cliche, you're at home and all that stuff. No, it's a good draw, and I think it's important for us to have a decent run this season. You know, it's one thing we haven't really done. So, yeah, home draw against a team in a lower division, I suppose that's pretty good.
Yeah, and you've had a decent tradition, haven't you, while you've been manager of getting to the third round here at Posh, so you want to continue that and try and go a bit better as well.
Yeah, last season was obviously a disappointment, and it was only one season I've not got there, I don't think. So, yeah, you want to get to the third for obvious reasons, and all the big boys are in it then, but I think it's a good draw for us.
Talking about Scunthorpe then this weekend, they've obviously had a tough season so far, haven't they? But a few green shoots of recovery possibly under Mark Robbins. I know the feeling is their recent performances have been very good. Perhaps the results not showing that.
Well, I think when generally the short term of a new manager coming in is normally quite successful. Whether it is long term or not, you'd have to wait and see. But I've watched the last two games. I thought against Port Vale they were good, quite expansive with the way they played. And against Notts County were unlucky really to lose it to death. So they're the only two performances I've looked at are the last two, and before that I haven't because it's quite irrelevant. So I would imagine they have picked up. I think the performances have been decent. They've got some good players. They've got a front four that can really hurt you if you let them. So be another tough match.
Yeah, they've struggled away from home, but actually last two games they've taken 4 points from 6 on the road. So again, just showing that they are perhaps picking up a touch.
Yeah, I generally think so. You know, Mark will have them organised. He'll play the way he wants his team to play. He'll know how to set them up. And watching the last two games has been quite similar in how they've set up. But again, it's about us and our performance, and we need to get to a level of performance that I think we've had in the last few games. You know, Coventry second half was, we hope, a one-off. We can't have a repeat of that, and the players fully understand that. We had a good meeting on Sunday morning about it, and it was sort of dealt with then. I didn't want to hang about and wait another day, so no panic. It was just we went through certain things and why we lost the game, how we lost the game, and really in a game we were so comfortable in. So we don't want a repeat of that, and I don't expect it. Before that, I think Crewe were very, very unlucky and played some really good stuff. And Crawley and Barnsley, very good performances, so no panic. I'll expect a performance similar to what we've been getting. Really.
Was that a case of putting them in on Sunday? Or was that a schedule one where you felt that you were going to go through it anyway?
No, it was just a nip it in the bud, and not a punishment. It was just, listen, there have to be sacrifices, and if it means coming in on a Sunday when normally they would have a day off, so be it. That's just part of the course. But I think it was important that we had it, and also the fact that we've gone through a third of the season, and you can look back and reflect on that. And it was good, really good. Players were excellent, and they've been excellent in the training since.
We talked last week, didn't we? And you said there are certain stats and bits and pieces that are staring you in the face a bit. And the record now against the sides lower down in the division would be one of those, wouldn't it? Because you've lost to 3 of the bottom 4 now. Can you put your finger on it? Where do you start?
Well, I'd have to look at each game individually. And Crewe, I felt we were unlucky. I feel if we keep to level players on the pitch, we'd probably win it. Yeovil was our most disappointing performance. Gillian, we lose in the last minute. Coventry, we lose. So it's not a good stat. It's not a good stat. If I was looking at it from the outside in, I'd be thinking, why is that? And it's not a case of our preparation's been exactly the same. We've not underestimated anyone. We're not that sort of group. So if it continued, it would be a real, real worry. But I don't think it will.
No, but I guess it's one that brings an air of caution to this weekend. People look at the table saying, well, Scunthorpe at bottom, Posh should roll them over. It doesn't work like that, does it? It's not as simple as that.
No, I never will. And get the basics right and earn the right to play. That's the most important thing. But I think I've said to you before, probably last week, I think it was a good thing for me to reflect on the fact that we've been beaten at Gillingham and Yeovil. I'm not so sure if I can keep touching on that. I get a bit nervous about it. I think I can't keep saying we keep getting beat by these sort of teams. Listen, the games don't change. They really don't. We know the league well. That's why I keep saying it's about us and our standards. And I think Coventry game was a great example. We were decent enough in the first half. Second half we fell way below our standards and we got beaten. It doesn't, I don't have to be a genius to tell the players for them to work that one out. If you don't set the right standards and don't get up there, I think you're going to get beat.
It's a completely different squad, of course, this season. And I know you don't want to look too much back at last season, but the fact is that it was about this time he had a bit of a wobble, 5 league defeats on the bounce. Is that there sort of at the back of your mind? Do you reflect on that at all?
No, I don't. I can understand why, if we were to lose Saturday, people might think, they're having another wobble. I think you have to also look at the way we lost games last season. I think that's important. I think there is a right way to lose a game of football. Crewe was a right way to lose it. I thought we went down really fighting with 10 men. Coventry's the wrong way of losing it, where you could say, well, you know what, they might have gone under there. So, of course you want to win the game on Saturday, but the performance is how we go about it, how we deal, maybe if we go behind in the game, them sort of, it's a character thing I'm looking at there, and there's ways of losing games. I don't expect us to lose the way we did against Coventry again. I really don't. I'd be really disappointed and surprised if we did. So no, I think this is, for me, a far more focused group, a group with better character. I really do think that. I think the one thing that I've not added, and it's not excuses, I've had no consistency in my selections, and that isn't an excuse, it's not. But then I look at Steve Cotterill saying, well, I've picked the same team for 9 games, and I've got a good squad, and I should be able to utilise that and use everyone, but to only pick the same team twice is making it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I remember you saying before the Fleetwood game a couple of weeks ago and afterwards as well that you'd sensed a bit of tension after a couple of bad results and a few nerves. How do you guard against that this weekend? Do you do anything differently?
I don't think we do. I don't think we need to. I think we need to. Well, my job's to focus on the positives. I've spoke about the Coventry game. I've dealt with it. I don't need to bring that up again. I dealt with it, as I said, the day after the game. And now we look at the positives, and I think there's a lot of positives to take out of the last 4 or 5 games, and I think we stick to that and maintain to the players. Look, it's easy playing well when you're 2-3-0 up. It's when you're getting beat, and we've lost the last couple, and I tell you now, people will be looking at it thinking, wonder what way they're going to go, and that's a test of character. But I think we've got that.
Yeah, and inevitably, because the league table, obviously there's a few teams with games in hand, and you're down in 5th now. You want to keep on the coattails of the teams above you, so important to keep those points ticking over. You've said 2 points a game on average is where you need to be.
Yeah, and we're obviously down on that. We were there, but now we're down on it, and I think the most important thing is to go on a good run-beaten run. I think that's key, and we haven't done that well enough this season. And you mentioned the teams around us. I don't really look at the table, whether we're 1st, 2nd, or whatever we are now, 4th or 5th, whatever it is. It is about the points, and there's nothing I can do about the fact until we play them. If Preston go and win every single game they've got left, apart from when they play us, then you hold your hands up. Bristol the same. We've just got to keep trying to progress the group and the squad we've got. Obviously Saturday's an important game. I'm not saying it's not. We need to make sure we get a result on Saturday because you want to get the momentum back. But it's just about collecting points and see what it gets us.
With Jack Payne suspended, is it all the more important to have Grant McCann fit and available against his former club? Well,
I think I mentioned before even I knew Payne would be suspended that it's a big week for Grant in terms of he's done all his training, he looks fine. It is against his old club, so he's definitely in my thoughts, Macca. Whether Jack was suspended or not, he was in my thoughts.
And we know all about his experience. He does have the ability to dictate a game, doesn't he? He's got the class to do that in midfield.
Yeah, I think with Grant he has to change his game, and not too much because he's not over the hill or anything. The one thing about Macca is he's never been blessed with great pace or mobility. So he's always has to manage his game differently. I think even more so now, especially when he's not playing every week, where that comes with the games and things. He's played in the development games, but I think he's got an important part to play this season, as he knows, in a slightly more sporadic role. But he's got to use his brain more than anything now, and be the experienced one, especially maybe in a game like Saturday where we've lost the last couple. Actually, thinking back, he played in the Fleetwood one as well when we lost the last couple, and he did fine. So, and if Macca comes in and does well, then he'd stay in the team if he plays on Saturday.
Luke James, is he banging on the door for another start?
Well, look, when you've lost a game like we did Saturday, and there's quite a few banging on the door, I've got to be honest. We had a disappointing result at Luton with the development group. That was disappointing, but they had a very, very experienced team. So there's a few banging on the door, there's no doubt.
Is Vassell back out on the grass yet and training with you, or is he still struggling?
No, Vass is back on the grass. Vassell and Cosy will be fit for the the Cup game, if they get through the full week's training. Cosy's done 3 or 4 days. He needs another week. Vass will do the full week, and they'll be available for that game.
So those two, and then Payne suspended. Everyone
He'll
else
be back.
available, I think.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's it. Everyone will be back.